So today's Monday, and basically, I put up another video today, which was actually a recording from the day before. But I mean, either or, I'm just gonna record another video right now. Today is Tuesday night. It's almost 9 in the night, and yesterday I was talking about just the música norteña that I'm normally into, what I like to listen to and whatnot. And today, I just feel like talking about how I ended up where I am right now. You know, how I ended up just unloading containers in Portland, Oregon, when I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. So once again, while I was gigging and while I was, playing in the Conjunto Norteño, I was just at home, just really just getting high, getting drunk. At the time, I was mostly getting high off weed, but I was drinking a lot. Modelo is what I like to drink. I prefer it in a tall boy, but just really any type of Modelo and any type of beer is fine. Not really tripping either, but I mean, Modelo was what I enjoyed drinking, and I was just drinking at home a lot, and my dad was just basically like, damn, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're not doing anything. Like, I get here, you're drinking, you're smoking weed. I leave in the morning to go to work. You're drinking, you're smoking weed, and if it's not that, then you're pretty much just asleep and, just waking up to do that and waiting for the next gig and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, this feels right. And then, so then I remember I went to this one agency. And in the beginning, they sent me to like an olive oil factory. And that one was pretty cool because I remember it was, I think, Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days. And then you had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. And so that was pretty smooth. I remember waking up every morning and like listening to 95.5 KLOS, and then just pretty much driving over there. And it was pretty cool because you just wake up, smoke a bowl, some herb, and you just get to work. And I remember it was just easy as fuck. Like, you're basically standing in front of a line, and there's bottles of olive oil going in front of you, and you're just making sure that the date wasn't smeared or anything. And if there was olive oil on the fucking bottle, just wipe it off. I'm not gonna lie, like, it was cool for me because of the schedule. I obviously had the 3 days off and whatnot, and I was making some more money on the side. But I remember it was just kind of like damn, like, I don't remember anything about just being there in general. Like, I don't remember one productive thing I did there, like, or one thing that I learned. And at the time, I didn't really care much. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I was mostly hung up on the gigging. I wanted to get off work, get home, get drunk, start practicing the guitar or the drums, and that's it. Just wait for the weekend. Basically, after just being there for a while, I started like just showing up late. I don't want to say not caring, because I cared. It was just showing up late that mostly that screwed me over. So I remember I got there late like one time. They didn't say anything. Then I got there late again, and this manager, this supervisor, whatever, he pretty much just like kind of said something, and I don't blame him, because I did show up late, but he was just like, he was just trying to be a smart ass about it. He was just like, oh, the start time's at this time. Like, yeah, bro, of course I know. Like, duh. I know it's not at fucking, I don't remember what time I was going in, but, I know the start time's never 4:15. I mean, 4:16 or 17, bro. Like, yes, of course I know. But, long story short, I think I was late just pretty much one more time. And then I remember the day that I got fired, the same supervisor was up there in the front, and I go up and I clock in, and then he was just pretty much like, did the agency talk to you? And I was just like, what? They're like, yeah, did the agency talk to you? And I was just like, nah. They were like, just don't go ahead and clock in. You're better off calling them. I was like, all right, bro. Appreciate it. And then they pretty much ended up firing me from there. They didn't want me back. And then I went back to the agency, and I was just pretty much like, well, shit, can you send me somewhere else? And they did. And this time I got sent over to a warehouse over in East LA. And this warehouse pretty much had sister warehouses, which pretty much means that there was one main general warehouse that was carrying, general items like bleach, soda, shampoo, motor oil, chips, snacks, cookies, juice, water, just anything along that line. And then they had seasonal warehouses, which pretty much means that they sold seasonal items like decorations for Christmas or Halloween or Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, just any type of holidays that involve decorations. So they had another warehouse for that. Then they had a refrigerated warehouse, which basically they had all the frozen stuff and all the perishable items. So they had another warehouse like that. And I believe they had another 2 or 3 put away warehouses, which they're pretty much just putting away inventory in there that they have overflowed from other warehouses, and they're receiving things there as well. So let's say, for example, they get a container that's coming in from China, they go in and load it at one of those warehouses. They'll receive it in there if it's seasonal items or depending what kind of item it is, and they'll, instead of sending them out by item, like pick one or pick two, they're just gonna send them out by full pallets. So, that's what they use those warehouses for, as well as to put away anything else. And so I was working with the warehouse, and I ended up at the seasonal warehouse. And the seasonal warehouse, just the way it was built, just the whole architecture of it was very, very perfect, because you walk in and you have a gate around it, and you have a parking lot. You walk into the door and you go all the way down straight. Then you have the punching area where you clock in and all that. And the manager's office is right next to the clock in, so if you ever need to talk to the manager right away. There was also the pallet jack area. Then you had the backhaul area where they're just unloading any crates, pallets, any Petco or Chet pallets. plastic, cardboard, trash, anything along that line. And so they're separating everything. Bins that they use for vegetables, crates that they use for vegetables are getting sorted there depending on size. Then you're separating the plastic with the cardboard, with separating plastic and cardboard, and like wax cardboard in case any bales of cardboard come in like that. You're separating pallets, any trash, and anything along that line, and Petco and chip pallets, of course. So you had maybe around like 10 to 15 dock doors right there that just had a group of maybe like 5 to 6 unloaders unloading at the time. A station for every area. You have a baler, so it can bale the cardboard, and right there you're just making bales of cardboard, and essentially they're just shipping those back to China to recycle. You had the pallet jack area, which had all the machinery, and you just make sure that you plug in your machinery to the battery, and there you're able to get your equipment for the day. Then you also had a bulk area, a very large bulk area that you're able to put certain items on the ground and stack them there. Either if they're gonna pick them in the future, or if they're just gonna be held there for storing area, like a reserve. Then on the side, a little bit before you get into that whole space, then you have the camera room, which was you just pretty much can see all the cameras. You also had an area outside where they're separating all the plastic pallets, all the CHEP pallets, all the Petco pallets, all the white pallets, and they're rebuilding as well. They were rebuilding pallets there in case they were broken from, in case some pallets are broken. Right there, they were rebuilding them, so that's always good to have, just rebuilding a rebuilding area. You go into the whole middle of the warehouse, and it's nothing but rack space. So there you have a picking station, like a picking area or rack selection. That way you can separate certain items. And then for the heavy set items that move out a lot, and you ask for a pick for a lot, on the third side of the warehouse, there was a lot of bulk area, picking area as well. So you had one side, then you had another dock for loading, and you had another one for unloading and for shipping. For unloading and for shipping. They were both kind of connected together, but they had a wall separating them. And then on the other side where the unloading section was, you had a whole other bulk area as well. And it was just so spacious. It was so nice. Like, if I were able to create a warehouse and build a warehouse, which I want to do, that wouldn't be such a bad idea. I would build something like along that architecture and just make it a 2.0 version, because that warehouse was so beautifully built. But I started working there, and right away they put me to the backhaul area, which is basically separating all the garbage, like I was saying, when they're unloading the trailers that are coming in from the stores. I remember the worst thing was separating the watermelon, like the garbage. Like, the watermelon would smell terrible, and I didn't like that at all. Then after a while, after kind of just showing that I was able to separate garbage, they decided to put me to order select. And that was pretty smooth. In the beginning, that shit sucked. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, that shit was pretty much, it got me to the point when I was like, man, you know what, fuck this shit. Like, I'd rather go gig and just go get drunk and get high. But nah, I stuck it out, and I became a really good order selector. And with time right there, I was able to be first place a couple of days, and there was a lot of good people picking right there. We had a really good team at one point. And we were a small group, like, we were a pretty small crew as well, but we had a lot of really good workers, and it was really dope, to be honest. I really enjoyed being there. And if you get to warehouses like that, where it's a small group of people and everybody knows exactly what to come in and do, like, it just runs so smooth, and it's not that bad working at a warehouse. But you have to have it like that. Now, in a lot of warehouses, you get a lot of random people, which is not a bad thing, but that's what kind of kills the joy sometimes. You know, and I say that with all due respect, to be honest. But it's tough to find a group of people that you can trust and are on the same page with you. And getting a little deeper into the series and into the channel, I'll let you know exactly what I mean by that. And because you can't trust everybody out there, right? So basically, I was working there, and with time, since it's a seasonal warehouse, there really wasn't much hours, so pretty much ended up getting a transfer to the general warehouse, which was the bigger warehouse, and right there I was doing a lot more hours, and then basically I was working there for about a whole other year. I was working there for another year, just picking orders. Same thing. They gave me an opportunity to go and try to work in the loading dock, but it just wasn't for me. I'd rather pick orders and just leave when the pickers leave, because loaders are always the last ones to leave sometimes. So at one point I was just like, man, you know what? I was working 11, 12 hours. Like, I just want to go back home. So then I was there for a year working at that warehouse. Then I was offered to go back to the seasonal warehouse, but the only perk was that now they had a brand new building. So we went to a whole brand new building, and I want to go help them. And that was smooth. I ended up working there for around another 2 to 3 years. And then that's when I got the opportunity to come and, well, basically what happened was I was working at that warehouse, and when, I went as a selector, I was picking, and then the receiving supervisor saw me picking, and he was just pretty much like, hey, like, what's up? Like, you're a pretty good picker. Like, do you come from the other warehouse? And I pretty much explained to him, like, yeah, I'm coming from the other warehouse and whatnot. And he's like, damn, like, you're good at picking. Like, you ever thought of doing something else? And I told him, like, nah, just because I had music on the side. And that's when he told me if I ever thought of being a receiver, because receivers got the weekend off, Saturday and Sunday. And I was like, well, shit, now I am. And he's like, well, put in an application and I'll hook you up. Like, I pretty much see that you're out here doing your thing and you smashing. I was like, I appreciate that, bro. And yeah, he hooked me up. And so when I got the job, the receiving job, they ended up giving me Sunday and Monday off, which was even better. So now I have a day to chill after the gigging and all that. And to be honest, that was real smooth. I won't even lie. I was pretty excited about that. And then, so I remember right before I had got the job, he had told me, he's like, look, I'm going to be honest with you, man. In maybe 2 to 3 years, there's going to be a company that's going to come in, and they're going to start paying them by the container. I'm sorry, by the case. So basically, he told me that there was going to be a company that's going to come in, and they were going to start getting paid by the case for every case that they picked. So to keep that in mind. And I told him, all right, like, I appreciate that. Sure enough, maybe like around 2 years later, a company came in and they started paying him by the case. Another third-party logistics company. And I didn't feel any type of way, because to me, hey man, I don't give a fuck. If I wanted to get paid more, I would have jumped with them. A lot of people got hurt in that company I was with. But at the same time, like, hey, you want to make more money? Go with them, man. It is what it is. But see, the problem was that nobody wanted to pick orders. Everybody just wanted to be on the reach truck. So reach truck get paid, just base pay. And now they wanted to, they wanted people to come in and pick the orders as fast as possible. And by performance, that's what they chose. And they thought that would be the best way. Long story short, with time, I'm just there getting drunk. At this time, I picked up a crystal meth problem, and I'm comfortable. I was a receiver. I had the weekend off, and it was smooth. I wasn't doing any hard labor. I was just counting up these fucking boxes, straight fucking chilling with the lumpers, with the unloaders, having a good time, drinking in the containers, fucking around, with the homies and shit. Just fucking bumping some music in the containers, drinking some pisto. These fools would come in on Saturdays, unload a container, chill out, receive it, and go home. And basically I was just very comfortable. And then with time, I started noticing that my problem with crystal was just getting pretty out of hand. I had an 8-ball of crystal in my pocket all the time. 2 8-balls, And it was just drinking every day, waking up, drinking, getting high, and going to work like that. I was going in at 4 a.m. to do the yard check. So, that was always my favorite too. Waking up at not even going to sleep actually, because I was getting high the night before. But going into the shower, it's 2:30 in the morning. Showering up, get ready. Driving down, it's 3 in the morning, 3:15. Passing the Commerce Casino, you just see those lights. Going to work, you get there, it's like 3:45, 3:50. To clock in at 4. You're drinking the fucking Modelo out of the Yeti. You know what I mean? That shit was sick. You take a fucking fat ass line, and then you're basically fucking doing the yard check at 4 a.m. Just writing down all the containers that are in the yard, and then you're giving it to the receiving clerk, and they're writing down all the containers that are loaded. Basically, when you're doing the yard check, you're just writing down the ones that are loaded and unloaded. That way they know what needs to be unloaded and what needs to be what's already unloaded. That way they can come and pick up those containers. So, for me, that was always, I always like doing that. I always like doing the yard check early in the morning. And then, once again, I was just comfortable doing that position. Then, when I started noticing that my problem kept getting a little out of hand, it was very out of hand already at that point, I told myself that it was time for a change. And I decided to go ahead and go with the third-party logistics company that was there. And I jumped ship, basically. And thankfully, it was a great decision. Through the grapevines, when I was working, at that warehouse, you come to meet these people and talk to them and, get to know them and whatnot. And then they get to give you a little bit of experience of what their company does and what their company offers. And after talking with a couple of them, I noticed that their company was going out on the road and selecting orders for different companies and different partners all around the United States. And this is something that very much attracted my attention. They were pretty much saying that they would go ahead and fly you out. They would pay you money to eat every day. They would put you in a hotel room. They gave you a right to work. You were working long hours, so you were going and making $1,000 a week. Over $1,000 a week. And this was just something that I really was interested in. I go, at the time I hadn't picked maybe in a couple of years, but I mean, order selecting is order selecting. And yeah, sure enough, that's what I did. I went ahead and jumped ship, and they welcomed me with open arms, and I was happy to be there. A couple of weeks into it, I was still working at that warehouse where I was at, and the management was down on a receiver. So they asked my company if they were willing to let me go and receive for them, and my company asked me, and I said yes. After a couple of months, they had me as a trainer, so I have experience in training people as well on machinery, on dock stockers, on pallet jacks, on just different equipment like that. I don't know the cherry pick, but I can use the dock stockers, the reach truck, pallet jacks, single pallet jacks, double pallet jacks, pack mules, just a bunch of stuff. But so then I became a trainer, and that's when you kind of start learning how to talk to people, and you just kind of start remembering that you were associate at one point, and you had problems coming in late as well, and whatnot. At this point, when I jumped ship to the company, I got sober, and this was back in 2019. So thankfully, it's been around 6 years that I've been off crystal meth and alcohol, and I just smoke bud now. I just like smoking some weed and just straight kicking it and chilling, and just kind of focus on coming out on the road and doing a good job. Working safe and just trying to take advantage of this opportunity and whatnot. After being a trainer for a while, I asked them to please give me the opportunity to go ahead and go on the road. And in the beginning, they were just kind of like, nah. And this was when COVID was just starting up, and they were like, nah, like, we're gonna give you a chance to be a lead soon, and we would like you to stay. And I was just like, you know what, I'm straight. Like, I appreciate that with all my heart, but right now I just think this is the best decision for me to go ahead and go on the road, and I just need some time. And I'll always be grateful for that, because they did, and they let me, and thankfully up to right now, I'm still here on the road. Within a week, I was in Chicago, Illinois, and that's where I got my first taste of working in the freezer. I remember I had only done dry up to that point, and I remember, you hear from the homeboys that the freezer always pays a little bit more. And they just said it in the meeting. They're like, who wants to be in the freezer? Who wants to be in the perishable? I go, well, who pays more? The freezer. All right, put me in the freezer then. And they got me a freezer suit. and let's go. That's when you start learning the how to stack ice cream, because it's different than other items. But that's basically where I went. I went to Illinois and I started picking in the freezer, and then within a couple of weeks, I remember everything was going pretty smooth. You got to your hotel room, and since it was COVID, they were doing single rooms. And that's one thing I forgot to mention, that after I had got on the road is when people started telling me that they share rooms. And I mean, I prefer to be by myself, I won't lie. But a lot of companies, they do share rooms. So just keep that in mind. But I was lucky enough to get my own room, and that was really the first time I was away from home. I mean, from Los Angeles, now I'm in Chicago. At the time I had just, I was just getting sober. And I remember getting off. I told the homeboy, I was like, yo, dog, just let's go to the liquor store. I want to get a pisto. And one of the other homeboys was just like, what? Like, bro, like, you just got here, And keep in mind, my boy was already drinking, meaning that homeboy. And then he was just like, bro, you've been doing so good not drinking. He's like, just sleep on it. And I thank that homeboy, man, because I never drank again. And I hope I don't, but only God knows. I'll be as simple as that. But I really thank that homeboy for making me think twice about picking up that drink. I was ready to get high. I was ready to drink. I was ready to just go crazy. And more like in a work way. But just work. I just wanted to work and make money. But I really thank that homeboy for making me think twice about getting that drink. A couple of weeks into it, they go ahead and announce that they need a couple of people over in Cleveland, Ohio. I volunteered. I ended up in Cleveland, Ohio, and that's where I got my first experience of sharing rooms right there. It was cool because I shared rooms with a homeboy that I knew from Los Angeles. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been a little awkward sharing a room with a random stranger. I mean, you get used to it being in this business, but at the same time, like, you honestly just never know. I ended up being there for a cool minute, and I'll tell everybody one thing: Cleveland is the best place to make money. As far as of any place I've worked at, that's one of the best places. Cleveland, Ohio has a lot of work. Then I went back to Los Angeles for a little while. Then I went back to LA for a little while to get some experience as a lead, and I did. And then I ended up back in another warehouse in Columbus, Ohio, and I went there as a lead. And this is where I started to learn how to deal with a lot more people on the road. And what I mean by that is now I'm meeting a lot more random people, a lot more ethnicities, Mexican people. Well, I am Mexican, Venezuelan, black, white, African, Guatemalan, Honduran, people from Spain, just a bunch of different people. And it was cool. And This is where I got a lot of management experience, a lot of experience of dealing with hotels, because now I was in charge of groups of 40 people, and they all needed a place to stay, and we're all staying in single hotels. And so I'm dealing with folios, I'm dealing with people checking in, I'm dealing with getting people flights, flying people out, picking them up, making sure that their per diem is good. And I'm getting a lot of that type of experience, and it was very cool. It was very dope, and the people that I was working under, you know, they were kind of showing me the strings of how everything was going along and how everything moved. And this is just one of the many things that they taught me. They were taking me up to Cincinnati, Ohio, 2-hour drive up there and a 2-hour drive back in the same day to go check up on another warehouse. And it's just something that I fell in love with. It's something that, like, damn, like, that shit's sick. You see Kings Island, famous water park. And then I ended up in another warehouse up in Illinois. Same thing. This was just order selecting. I went as an order selector, but I was also, in charge of a group of people. Then they sent me to another warehouse where strictly they needed me because I spoke Spanish. So for all the Spanish speakers, sigan hablando español, keep talking Spanish. And for all those people that don't know, you better start learning. Because, to be honest, like, it was dope. Like, they didn't know any machinery. The people that didn't speak any English, they only spoke Spanish, and I spoke Spanish and English, so I was pretty much going as a translator. And they didn't know any equipment either, so I pretty much was going with them to the simplest thing to do in the warehouse, and just keeping an eye on them, doing what they were doing, the easiest shit. And it was cool. You get little perks like that for knowing another language, and it's cool because you got to teach these people. You kind of see what they're going through, and you kind of get an idea, because that's what I remember my dad saying one time. Like, it's not the way that people treat you or whatever. It's like, what sucked for him was like being here and not knowing any English, not being able to order a hamburger, not being able to go into a grocery store and just casually ask for what you need. So, and it's true, because I've met a lot of people like that here out on the road, that come from Mexico, that come from Honduras, that come from Guatemala, that come from all over the place, and they don't know a lick of English. Óyelo este way. You don't know a lick of English. But it's true, they don't know shit of English. And they get a little embarrassed because they can't speak it. And they don't know how to fucking go and order a fucking hamburger from Culver's. Or a fucking, a bucket of chicken from Bojangles and shit. But you're gonna see what they're going through, and kind of try to help them out and whatnot. I mean, they're humans just like us, right? They're the Latino race just like me, so just anybody in general, man. Just try to help anybody out as little as possible, and if you can, you can. But yeah, that was pretty tough to see, just seeing how some people are just a little shy. I've seen some really good workers that are offered lead positions, but they turn it down because they basically say, like, I can't even write an email, bro. Like I can barely speak English. I can't even write an email. It's just like, damn. Like, yeah, you're right, bro. Like, fuck. That's crazy. And then, so just remember, step up your English and your Spanish. Para los paisas, hablan con el inglés, compas. And then, o aprendan a hablar inglés. Les va a ayudar un chingo. It's gonna help you out a lot. Then I got sent back to Illinois. Man, Illinois loves me. I love Illinois too. I got a lot of love for Illinois. Shout out to Nina's Tacos. Those are probably like the best tacos somewhere right there, like next to Ottawa, Illinois, the city over. Some of the probably top 5 tacos I've ever, probably top 3 tacos I've ever had. Nina's Tacos, somewhere in Illinois, next to Ottawa, Illinois. After that, I've just been out on the road, and like I said in this channel, I just kind of want to talk about what I've experienced, the different functions that I know, and things like that. I just want it to be a talk. I just want to upload every day and put something up every day. And if people listen, people listen. If people don't, people don't. Some of the states that I've been to: California, I live in California. Oregon, currently at Oregon. Washington, Nevada, Arizona, Tennessee, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, New York, Georgia, Mississippi, Kentucky, I think that might be it. If I think of any more, I'll let you know. I'm just trying to talk off the top of my head and trying to remember as much as I can. I was over there by Montgomery, New York. I was by Savannah, Georgia. I was by Newnan, Georgia. 2 different warehouses up there. One different warehouse in Montgomery, New York. One different warehouse in Mississippi, in Hernando, Mississippi. One different one in Smyrna, Tennessee, over there by Knoxville, Tennessee. Richmond, Indiana. What else? What else? California, of course. Portland, Oregon. I was at a couple up here. A couple up in Ohio, in Gahanna, Cleveland. Just a bunch of different ones, and more than anything, what I would say is, if you're gonna start working at a warehouse, or you're gonna get into this lifestyle of going out on the road, just be safe. Like, for me, first and foremost, working at the warehouse, working inside of a warehouse, like, don't put yourself in danger. Careful with those machines, because they got no heart. If they malfunction, they could take off your foot. Just be careful with all that. Just always be safe. Always look back. Always look forward. Whenever you're on the machinery, you don't know if someone's coming right behind you. A lot of these fools and a lot of these fulitas, and me myself sometimes, you get a little happy on the machines, but you gotta be careful. It's not worth your foot going out there and smashing your foot for a box or something. But more than anything, just be safe. And there's a lot of work in certain places, in certain warehouses, and you just gotta kind of look around and see what kind of goes with you, because there's a lot of warehouses that have a lot of overtime, and there's a lot of warehouses that don't have a lot of overtime. You know, and you gotta get kind of accustomed. And one thing I'll tell you, being at all these different types of warehouses at all these different states, like, they're all for different reasons why we're there in the first place, you know. Because sometimes I'll do different functions, from unloading to picking to replan to put away to being a lead, you know, just the different functions. And it's cool, you know. Like, you get a lot of experience, and you gotta learn a lot of things like that. You go out and you get a rental, and you take people to Walmart, uh, depending on who you're with and whatnot. And as far as the sense, like, if they want to go or if they don't want to go, you know, you start building how can I say, like, a routine. You know, sometimes you might be at a place by yourself. Sometimes you might be at a place with 200 people. Sometimes you might be at a place with 5 people. Sometimes you might be at a place with 20 people. You just never know. But, you know, I just want to continue talking and continue just putting up videos. And even though I was just rambling on today about nothing, like, I'll try to be a little bit more structured on what I say. But I guess the point right now is just to keep putting up more videos and just being more on top of it and starting off on top of it. So y'all be safe, man. Yeah, have a good one.